Greetings everyone, it is me Shadow Leon 659 once again, and today I'd like to talk about a film that I personally consider overrated and never understood why people called it good, and today's subject of review is Godzilla 2014. I'm so sorry to say this, people, but Godzilla 2014, without a doubt, is one of the biggest letdowns of my life. While I'll admit the trailers for this film were awesome, they were sadly misleading. Plus, I never understood the positivity behind this movie, nor why so many people, let alone critics and fans, thought it was better than the 1998 film. And if I'm being brutally honest, people, I would rather much rewatch the 1998 film than sit through this movie again. Let's start with the positives, before I tear this movie apart. Firstly, Bryan Cranston gave a solid performance as Joe Brody and was easily the highlight of the human cast in my opinion, as you felt sorry for him, the chemistry with his dying wife was emotional and heartbreaking, and he got plenty of development. The criminally underused Ken Watanabe also gives a good performance as Dr. Ishiro Setizawa. I love the monster design of Godzilla and he looked pretty badass. The monster fight was fantastic. The score composed by Alexandra Desplat was amazing for what it is. And the cinematography and special effects was solid for what they were. The first act of the film is well paced, structured, and has a good mystery. The Halo jump scene was an awesome and intense action set piece that I will admit. Sadly, that is where my positives for the movie end, unfortunately. Now let's get on with the negatives. The pacing of this film is sluggish as hell. I'm all for slow-paced films, but it was poorly executed here. You even have a scene where soldiers walk through a tunnel and as extremely slow as possible just to pad the movie out. This is not building suspense and waiting for a jump scare moment. This is just time filler. Bryan Cranston, for no reason, is killed off at the end of the first act and is completely forgotten about. And we spend most of the film with these other characters, all of whom are boring, especially Ford Brody, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, and the military soldiers are just your generic military soldiers you've seen a million times. The actors portraying them give dull and lifeless performances. How you make Kick-Ass of all people boring is beyond anyone's guess. Say what you want about the 1998 film, at least the characters had personality and was somewhat interesting. For a film called Godzilla, the titular monster is barely in the damn film and we mostly focus on the MUTOs, who look like a Starship Troopers bug. The Cloverfield monster and Gauss got into a bad teleportation accident. It feels like a boring and sloppy remake of Gamera Guardian of the Universe. And honestly, people, I'd rather much be watching that film any day of the week over this boring crap. This film tries way too hard to think it's the Nolan trilogy of kaiju films, but doesn't understand what made Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy work, mostly. I was also expecting this movie to be like the 1954 film where Godzilla was the villain, but set in more modern times and being a social commentary for recent tragedies like the 9/11 attacks, the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, and the then recent Fukushima disaster. But no, the commentary is in your face and just feels like an afterthought. Plus, the characters are way too dull and uninteresting for me to care about. Speaking of the monster action, with the exception of the final battle, most of it ends as soon as it starts or we just see the aftermath of said fights. My god, it seems as if they were so afraid of making yet another bad Godzilla movie that they just played things safe. It's like they watched the 1998 film, saw its problems, and took those problems out of context. Don't even get me started on Ken Watanabe's god-awful line. of now let them fight, disregarding the fact that millions of innocent people will die in this fight. I mean, what the fuck is this? Is this the Showa era of Godzilla, a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, or a WCW wrestling match? What the hell, writers? Who talks like that in real life? Seriously, Gareth Edwards. How the hell did you make a Godzilla movie ungodly, boring, and extremely sluggish? The film writes itself. Plus, the screenplay written by Max Borenstein and the story by David Callahan was just poorly executed and atrocious. This was the best these two hacks could come up with? Solid screenplay and story, my fucking arse. I'm so glad that the later MonsterVerse films fixed this issue and overshadowed this lackluster start. I am going to give this movie a 4 out of 10, and like I said before, people, I would rather much sit through the Roland Emmerich film any day of the week than ever rewatch this boring mess again. So, what did you guys think of Godzilla 2014? Let me know in the comments section down below, and thanks for watching as always. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content. Shadow Leon 659 signing out. Goodbye and take care.